loss.
We're going to wait for the cards to be read. I think anybody who watched the fight can clearly see that Jorge Linares won. He is the WBC Diamond and the WBA, the only WBA champion at 135 pounds. Right now, it's March the 25th, 2017. It is 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And basically, Anthony Crolla from the UK, remember former WBA champion, got a rematch with Jorge Linares in the fight. I mean, basically off of a fight that he clearly lost. So now he lost in a more, he just clearly got outboxed. He was knocked down by an uppercut. What was that, round 8 or 9? He just was outclassed. And I think we all knew that Jorge Linares was the better overall fighter. It's just that the issue with Jorge Linares is if you're a fighter like Anthony Crolla that has some power and you're able to keep coming forward and you have the heart, you have a chance to beat Jorge Linares, because Jorge Linares has been brutally stopped 3 different times in his career. You see what I'm saying? So now Jorge Linares has won 11 straight fights since losing to Antonio DeMarco and this guy Sergio something in the fight immediately after that. So he's on a nice streak, but if you look at the streak and the names that it involves, even though he is a 3 weight division champion, he really has not fought anybody. So now this fight was on Sky Sports Fight Night over there in the UK, which is equivalent to like HBO Boxing, except it's like ESPN, but they have commercials a little bit. But it was a big show. Let's listen to the cards.
Judges have scored the contest 118-109. That's all 3 judges are in favour of your winner. And still, the WBA and WBC Silver and Rolling Magazine lightweight champion of the world, and Niño de Oro, the golden boy, Jorge.
Back inside our New York studios,
I want to hear what Mikey Garcia has to say.
Mikey Garcia. So Jorge Linares wins the unanimous decision. Basically, I mean, he won every round except maybe 1 or 2 on those fight cards. Give me your thoughts. He looked superb tonight. He said he wanted to win more convincingly. He did.
Yeah, excellent performance by him, punctuated by a knockout.
We can't listen to that. I really want to. What I was saying is, you have Mikey Garcia. Okay, the fight is on Sky Sports over in the UK, but here in the States, it's on Showtime. And I'm glad they put it on regular Showtime, because normally when they do these international cards, these Showtime International cards, they put it on like Showtime Extreme and it don't be in HD. So I'm actually glad that they did this. You know, it was a nice quality show. In the studio, in the New York Showtime studio, they had Al Bernstein, Brian Custer, Paulie Malignaggi, and Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia has, how can I put it? The belt that Jorge Linares has, the WBC Diamond belt, is over the belt that Mikey Garcia has. Now, I read the rules, and basically the WBC only has to order Linares versus Mikey Garcia at their discretion. It doesn't mean that they're each other's mandatory, but basically they should be, and the WBC is supposed to or should make the fight. And also, Mikey Garcia is already talking about how he's in preparation for the fight, and basically brought him on Showtime. Let's listen.
What would a Jorge Linares, Mikey Garcia fight look like, and when would you like to see that fight take place?
First, congratulations to Jorge. He looked great. He obviously performed better in the first night. This time he, outboxed Crolla a lot easier. Showed skills, showed flexibility, moving around the ring, combinations, power. Dropped him with that uppercut. I think it would be a great fight with me. I look forward to that. I hope we can get that as soon as possible. He didn't get cut. I don't see him injured, so I think we can get into works and maybe fight this summer.
You look at the first fight. Round 6 was the pivotal round. This one, round 7, even though...
Now, here's the interesting thing. Mikey Garcia is still a free agent, yet he's been fighting on Al Heyman cards his last 2 fights with Richard Schaefer, looking very closely almost like he is a Richard Schaefer fighter. But he's not. You have Jorge Linares, who's a Golden Boy fighter. Oscar De La Hoya was over there in the UK for the fight. Also, Oscar De La Hoya having a fighter on Showtime. So that's very good news for boxing, but I'm very interested to see. Okay, we can already see that Showtime has invested in Jorge Linares because, they put on Linares versus Crolla. So which means that
Fight on.
Well, we appreciate everyone watching. For Al Bernstein and Paul Najee.
The network situation is not an issue because Mikey Garcia has been fighting on Showtime. Jorge Linares has been fighting on Showtime. So now the question is, are they really going to get the fight done? And was one of the reasons why they picked up Linares versus Crolla II was to secure Linares versus Mikey Garcia. And then when Richard Schaefer and Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya, even though we've seen that that Oscar De La Hoya has worked with Heyman with Canelo versus Khan, we still haven't seen a Golden Boy event on Showtime in which Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy Promotions, is working with whoever the promoter is going to be for Mikey Garcia, whether it's TGB or Ringstar Sports. So that right there adds some politics to it. But what happens to Crolla? And I understand it's Anthony Crolla, like Crow, call. Not Corolla. I understand. It's just you gotta understand. It's the accent. So what's next for Anthony Crolla? Now understand the WBA. The 135-pound division right now is ruled by Jorge Linares, who has 2 belts, right? WBC Diamond, which, like I said, trumps Mikey Garcia's WBC. He also has the WBA. God damn it. He's the only champion for the WBA, and as you know, they usually have 2 champions. So basically, he's unified. He's got 2 of the belts. His mandatory should be Mikey Garcia. They're building up for him to fight Mikey Garcia. But then you also have Robert Easter Jr. out there and Terry Flanagan. In my opinion, Robert Easter is the weaker of, I'm not saying he's a bad fighter, follow what I'm saying, is the weaker of the 135-pound champions. Now, a lot of people may say Terry Flanagan. That's probably because they don't watch Terry Flanagan fights. Terry Flanagan keeps coming forward, and he's a big dude. He will rough you up. So when you look at it, Jorge Linares has options, to go the Terry Flanagan route. But I just really hope they get this Mikey Garcia, part done. And then for Robert Easter and Terry Flanagan, especially after Terry Flanagan gets through his mandatory with Peter Petrov, I really want to see him versus Robert Easter. But this is another division that, politics really don't play too much of a factor with who can fight who. Because Robert Easter being an Al Heyman fighter, or about billions if you really want to look at it like that, he can fight over on Box Nation, or BT Sports, which Terry Flanagan, is who he's with. And also they have that financial backing behind them with BT Sport, which is one of the reasons why you're seeing Gervonta Davis versus Liam Walsh. One of the reasons. And then you also have Mikey Garcia, who can go the Robert Easter route. But how much money is really there? Which fight is much more profitable? Is it Linares versus Garcia or Garcia versus Robert Easter? Mikey Garcia can also go the Terry Flanagan route. So, there's so many different ways you can go with this. But now it's just like, well, where do you leave poor Crolla? Where do you leave Anthony Crolla? Let me go see. Now, if you look, he's no stranger to rematch. Should there be a third one of these fights? Hell no. Now he's just got to work his way back up, the rankings. And I'm trying to figure out, hey, listen, you can do a big fight with him versus Luke Campbell, right? Like a rites of passage type, you can do that fight unless he's going to go Yvonne Mindy. But also another thing you must notice about Eddie Hearn is that he's going to find some type of ranking. He's going to find some type of ranking to put him in to get him closer to a title shot. You see what I'm saying? So I don't really see him using Anthony Crolla, especially after having him on this stage of fighting Jorge Linares in 2 successful fights financially. I expect for him to do kind of like he did Ricky Burns, get him back and Tony Bellew, and what you've seen he's done with many of the guys who people said, oh, they think they lost, their careers over. I see him doing that with Anthony Crolla and working him and working him back up. So he may keep him away from a Luke Campbell unless he wants to get risky. But the way I've seen Eddie Hearn work, and understanding or more so studying his promotional mannerisms, you wouldn't really see him at this point in time put Luke Campbell and him together. He'll try to get Luke Campbell a title shot, and then since he failed on a Jorge Linares path again, maybe he might put him in the WBA path again as far as working him up the WBA rankings or the WBC again. Or maybe he might say, okay, well, let's try to go after Robert Easter. Let's get us a ranking in the IBF. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I noticed about how Eddie Hearn and how he works when it comes to stuff like that. But, it was a good fight. I was entertained, and one thing I said about Jorge Linares is, he's always vulnerable late, because when it came to his knockout against, or his stoppage against Antonio DeMarco, put it this way, he's always vulnerable to an extent, especially when you've been knocked out 3 times or stopped 3 times. So I find out like Anthony Crolla always does have a chance. But it is what it is. I'm T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live. Please visit FightView360.com. Link is right down in the description box. Cover every single major fight live. Website is active now. I'm going to go make some tea.